It's a dicey night for baseball. And live from Citi Field in Flushing, New York, Sportsnet LA presents the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets in the final game of this three-game series. Hi again, everybody. Charlie Steiner, Oral Hershiser. For the last 4 Thursdays and Fridays here in New York, it has rained. And tonight, it is no exception. Rain in the forecast. We hope and expect to get the game in. If and when it starts, well, we'll all find out together. In the meantime, the Dodgers try to win 7 in a row from New York. They've won 11 of their last 12, dating back to 2012. And tonight, the Dodgers are going to be sending out Zack Greinke.
You know, when the ball's in Zack Greinke's hands, the Dodgers are very confident. Since he became a National Leaguer, anybody who's had 75 starts at the National League, he has the highest winning percentage ever. Well, how's he done that? Well, he broke into this league 10 years ago with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball that he averaged. Now the fastball is down to 91. But have no fear. It is not because Zack Greinke is losing velocity. He is such a veteran pitcher. He has learned to change speeds up, meaning going from 91 all the way up to 96, and change speeds down. When his average fastball is at 91, he can go down to 83. This is a veteran that understands how to pitch and has tremendous confidence when the ball's in his hand.
Zack Greinke has made 37 starts since coming to the Dodgers. He is 22-5. They are 29-8. Left-hander Jonathan Neese goes for the Mets tonight. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have the lineup's first pitch. Alana Rizzo will be joining us as well next from Citi Field in New York.
As fans make their way into Citi Field on a cool and drizzly night here in Queens, getting ready to take in Game 3 of a 3-game set between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Mets. Hello, everybody. Welcome inside Citi Field. I'm Alana Rizzo. The Los Angeles Dodgers certainly have one of the best lineups top to bottom in all of baseball. In fact, they've hit 50 home runs so far this year, 4 already in this series. That's good enough for 3rd in the National League and tied for 5th in all of baseball with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Anaheim. Pretty interesting, though, they already have 4 home runs in this series because Citi Field, known much more as a pitcher's park. In fact, it averages just 1.6 home runs per game, so the Dodgers already above average, averaging 2 per game. But they're on their way to a much more hitter-friendly park. I'm talking about Citizens Bank Park, of course, in Philadelphia. Phillies home park averaging 1.95 home runs per game, so certainly much more conducive to the power-hitting Dodgers lineup. In this game, in fact, though, it's talking about who's on the hill. That's the most important thing. Zack Greinke on the bump for the Los Angeles Dodgers, looking to be just the first pitcher this season to already achieve 8 wins. Charlie Steiner and Oral Hershiser on the call right after this.
New York, and as we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, coincidence or not, it's been 4 consecutive Thursdays where it has rained in New York, and today picked up where it left off, and mercifully in the last few minutes the rain has stopped. The Citi Field manicure has been completed. The lineup cards are being exchanged between Don Mattingly and Terry Collins as you're taking a look at the newest Dodger, Arizbel Arabuena, who showed up for work yesterday when Juan Uribe was placed on the disabled list. 15 days at least for Uribe and his hamstring as the New York Mets take the field. The Mets at 20 up and 25 down. 5 games behind Atlanta. The Dodgers at 25 and 22. 4 behind San Francisco. The Giants and Rockies are in a rain delay in Denver. They are tied at 2-2 in the 6th inning. So here's a lineup that Don Mattingly's put together. Don't be alarmed with Sean Figgins at the top of the lineup for today. D. Gordon simply has the day off. Yasiel Puig, Hanley Ramirez, and Adrian Gonzalez, who's been red hot. Matt Kemp, Scott Van Slyke with the lefty Nice on the hill, starting in left. Justin Turner again at third base. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. Zack Greinke seeking to become the first 8-game winner in Major League Baseball. And the Honda starting pitcher for the Mets tonight is lefty Jonathan Nice.
Jonathan Nice, the 27-year-old with the fastball, both 2 and 4 seam, throws the cutter, the curveball, and the changeup. He's much better this year against left-handers. In his career, they hit .253. This year, only hitting .185. That improved breaking ball. But we The Dodgers only have one lefty in the lineup, and he can hit lefties, and that's Adrian Gonzalez.
The Dodgers as a team are hitting just .220 against left-handed pitching. Do you care to espouse a theory on that one?
I think they need to stay back a little bit better and read the outer half of the plate. The left-handers usually go with their changeup away to our righties, and they've been rolling over. They need to hit the ball a little bit more where it's pitched and take it to the opposite field.
So Sean Figgins will be leading it off. Talking to D. Gordon prior to the game today, he felt in a way it was kind of like graduation day, in that he has been given a day off just to get a day off and knows that he's got a job to report back to tomorrow.
Yeah, that is a nice feeling for a player, especially when you've been competing for an everyday job, then accomplishing that and getting moved up in the lineup from the bottom of the lineup to leading the offense at the top of the lineup, and then to know I need to be rested, but I still have a job. That's a very comforting feeling.
Sean Figgins leading it off. This is going to be his first start at second base this year. Of course, one of the reasons that Figgins was able to make the team coming out of spring training was his ability to play every position. In spring training, he started every spot except pitcher, catcher, and first base. And while he's 5 for 20, Figgins has a .444 on base percentage. He has walked 6 times and has but 5 base hits. Takes high and outside, 1 ball and no strikes. So Figgins and Puig and Ramirez will hit here in the first.
At the top of the order and in the 8 hole with A.J. Ellis, 2 guys that like to take a lot of pitches and work walks.
And he takes ball 2.
I would guarantee he's going to take this pitch.
Neese with a dozen walks this year in 50 innings. Opposing hitters hitting .249 against him. There's a strike. Well, you heard the bellowing of Adrian Johnson in his 7th big league season behind the plate. He's 38 from Houston, Texas. Yasiel Puig is on deck and Hanley Ramirez to follow. Pass to diving right into left field for a base hit. So Sean Figgins is aboard with a single to left. Let's take a look at the defense behind Jonathan Neese tonight. Wright and Wilmer Flores on the left side of the infield. Daniel Murphy and Lucas Duda out of USC at first base. Eric Campbell hit his first big league home run last night. Lagares hitting over 300. Granderson hitting barely 200. Anthony Recker is behind the plate. And here is Yasiel Puig, who has merely been doing everything lately. The National League Co-Player of the Week. He is in the top 5 in the National League in batting average at .333. Home runs with 10. 37 RBIs, ranks him 2nd in the league, and he's 4th in the league in on-base percentage at .427. He was headline news in all 3 of the newspapers in New York today. The Daily News, the Post, and the New York Times. Big feature spots on Puig. The star is born. Having a bite to eat before the game with Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez, the 2 television analysts for the Mets. And Darling, of course, the Yale. He said he's compelling. And what a better description for Puig, who doesn't like the call. It's 0-2.
Attempted to bunt on the first pitch, and sees quite a few heaters when there's somebody on base because they don't like to throw the off-speed stuff with the possibility of the running game.
Puig in his last 19 games merely hitting .408 with 7 home runs and 23 RBIs and down on 3 pitches.
It was out of character for Yasiel. He has been very disciplined through this hot streak of swinging at strikes and taking balls.
1 out, 1 on, and Hanley Ramirez coming up. As hot as Puig has been, it's almost a shocker that he's gone on 3 pitches.
Very much so. I thought he actually gave a pitch away there, attempting to bunt on the first one, but he saw something he liked, and with his speed, if he gets it down in the right place, it's an easy base hit.
Now Hanley Ramirez stepping in. Ramirez with a home run last night, his 7th of the year. Figgins leads from first, and Ramirez takes a strike. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Hanley is 5 for 20 on the trip. Has a hit in each of the 5 games. No balls, 1 strike.
Hanley with the home run last night, and then in his last at bat grounded into a fielder's choice, and that was the at bat that really could have put the night over the top for him, but he walks away with only 1 hit, a big hit. But he's still looking for that multi-hit, just big time game
to get really uncorked on the season.
It seems like he saves his day in his last at bat and gets a hit, or seems to not get the extra one.
Well, he's got a base hit into right center field, and Figgins is on his way to third without a throw. So the Dodgers have runners at the corners and 1 out.
It's a fastball up, a cutter, and doesn't get all the way in there, and Hanley does a good job staying on top of that, keeping his hands on top of the ball, above the ball really, because when you swing the bat, the barrel of the bat ends up below your hands. So on those high pitches, you have to get your hands above the ball.
Brings up Adrian Gonzalez, who is 9 for his last 16. Well, the Dodgers have produced with runners in scoring position in the series. They're 7 out of 18. First and third, 1 out. And Adrian has always been a productive hitter in the clutch. Into left center field. Campbell makes the catch. Tagging and scoring is Sean Figgins. So Adrian Gonzalez, with his 34th run batted into the season, has given the Dodgers a 1-0 lead.
Adrian looking left on left for the first thing he can just put in the air. Looking for the ball up. Got it. Got it to the outfield.
Well, the Dodgers score first, and when they do this year, they're 18-8. The Mets, on the other hand, when the opposition scores first, have lost 12 of 18. Matt Kemp coming up with a runner at first base and 2 out. Kemp at 273, 5 home runs and 13 runs batted in. And there's a strike, and it's 0-1. Van Slyke on deck.
Matt didn't particularly agree with that call right there on the inside cutter. Looks like he backed off the plate a tad, maybe going to be looking in there.
No balls and a strike. Kemp has walked 14 times and has been struck out 41. So the Dodgers with a run here in the first. And the way Greinke has pitched this year, he's playing with a little bit of house money early.
Well, Zach Greinke in this ballpark, first of all, because it's a great pitcher's park, a very heavy night with all the humidity in the air and the rain circling us. Well, it's a great night to pitch.
Kemp is done, so are the Dodgers, but not before they score one on a Figgins single, a Ramirez single, and the Gonzalez sac fly. Zach Greinke's turn to pitch in the bottom of the first when we come back. The New York Mets, conveniently situated right behind the post, will pick up his Medicare card next week. He'll be 65. Here's the lineup he's put together tonight. Juan Lagares at 315, leading it off. After that, Murphy and Wright, and David Wright, a Met killer throughout his career, 371 lifetime against the Mets. Granderson, Campbell, and Duda, followed by Wilmer Flores, Anthony Recker, and Jonathan Neese, and tonight's Dodgers Honda starting pitcher, Zach Greinke.
Coming off 8 innings in Arizona, where he's an exceptional in that hitter's park, now in a pitcher's park. This is the winningest National Leaguer ever. If you have 75 or more starts in the National League, Zach Greinke is 47-14.
And as a Dodger, 22-5. And he delivers a strike to Lagares, and it's 0-1. So here is Greinke, who has allowed 2 runs or less in 21 consecutive starts. And in those 21, he has gone 14-2. And quickly ahead, 0-2 to Lagares. So this is a young Met team that is hitting just .218 against right-handed pitching. Bunch of free swingers. And with Greinke on the hill, the ballpark playing as it does, and a ground ball to short. Hanley Ramirez will throw out Lagares, 1 out and nobody on. Defensively for the Dodgers, it'll be Turner and Ramirez on the left side of the infield. Figgins and Gonzalez on the right. Scott Van Slyke starting in left field, so Ethier and Crawford with the nights off. Matt Kemp, Yasiel Puig, and A.J. Ellis behind the plate. I'm going to mention that everything seems to be in line for Zach Greinke tonight.
Yeah, he is throwing the ball so well. His skipper says that if you have a weakness, he will find it. That's the kind of command that he brings to the game. And Don Mattingly talked before the start about the run that Zach is on, and also about his preparation and intelligence and how great an athlete he is. And when you have his tools, and then you have his study habits and ability to retain the information, then apply it, it's almost like playing a video game for him.
0-1 to Murphy outside.
Opponent's batting average the last 21 starts. You can see with runners in scoring position, he is at his toughest at 159. Bases empty, 232, so he doesn't get many jams. And once they get on, he pitches as well from the stretch, 226, as he does from the windup.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Daniel Murphy. So the Dodgers have owned the Mets the last couple of years. And it was that way in the very beginning. In 1962, the Mets and Dodgers played each other 18 times, and the Dodgers went 16-2. And a lot of those 62 Mets used to be Dodgers. Just outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
So much confidence when you pitch in a ballpark like this, Charlie, that you feel like if you make a mistake and they're going to hit in the air and try and hit it a long way, it gets captured. You just feel like you can make almost any pitch and take any risk.
Ramirez has to hurry, and he does. 2 out. So quickly, 2 out and nobody on a grand total of 8 pitches, of which 6 have been strikes. David Wright is coming up. Heavy air. It's been raining on and off through the day. The wind is blowing in. And Greinke, who enters the game with an ERA of 2.03 and opposing hitters 234 against him. It's going to be that kind of a night. The rain stopped just before game time. Field was covered up until about 30 minutes before game time. Although they say somewhere about 9-10 o'clock some more rain might blow through. David Wright at 293. Fouls it off to the right, and it's 0-1.
Well, the captain at the plate definitely represents the heart of the Mets order, and the heart is not beating very strongly here in New York. This offense is anemic, but the next 2 hitters, if you're going to label anybody, David Wright and Curtis Granderson are the 2 that you say don't let them beat you.
And Granderson off to a bad start, and there's a fly ball deep down the left field line. It is hooking foul.
That slow curveball right there is a nerve-wracking pitch from Greinke to throw to David Wright, because you want to make sure you bounce it. It's a pitch you want to throw, but if you're going to make him hit a fly ball, you want him to hit it to center or to right.
On 0-2. Fastball and another foul ball.
Where do you play him? Way down the left field line, way down the right field line. You got to play him straight up, and that's pretty much what the Dodgers are doing. Matt Kemp, the only one shading him to right. That's just so he gets a visual on home plate.
A lifelong Met fan, David Wright. Grew up in Virginia, Norfolk. Here's the 0-2, just outside. Now, how does a kid from Norfolk, Virginia become a lifelong Met fan? As he was growing up, the Mets AAA club was in Tidewater. And so he always dreamed of playing for the Mets. And that's all he's ever worked for. Here's the 1-2, just outside. First base umpire Stu Shearwater. He's a rookie. Vacation reliever. 2-2. Dodgers with a 1-0 lead.
Real good battle going on right here. David Wright showing some good plate coverage on the slow curveball, on the fastball away that he fouled down the right field line. Took a really good slider away after an 0-2 fastball off the edge of the plate. So Greinke and Ellis decide, let's get him off the plate. Let's get the barrel backed off, and jammed him right there.
31-year-old David Wright works the count full. Wright, a first-round pick of the Mets back in 2001. The full count. Call strike 3, and he knew it. Well, a clean inning for Zach Greinke. Nothing across for the Mets. Van Slyke, Turner, and Ellis to bat for the Dodgers in the second. On a couple of singles by Figgins and Ramirez, a sac fly for Adrian Gonzalez against Jonathan Neese, while Zach Greinke was perfect in the bottom of the first, throwing 16 pitches, of which 11 were for strikes, and Scott Van Slyke will lead it off in the second. So with the lefty Neese going, Van Slyke gets to start in left field. That means both Andre Ethier and Carl Crawford have the night off. Turner and Ellis to follow, and Van Slyke takes outside, 1 ball, no strikes.
Most impressive thing about Scott Van Slyke for me has been the sporadic playing time, but how well he has stayed in his swing and kept his timing. He has not ever this season looked lost at the plate because of lack of playing time.
Well, he's also grown accustomed to his place. He knows now he is not going to be an everyday outfielder for the Dodgers. And at first, in the last couple of years, he was frustrated by that. Frustrated so much so he put on some weight. The Dodgers took him off the 40-man roster. He renewed his vows to playing baseball and his physical condition. It's now 3 balls and a strike. And he knows who he is, where he is, and what is expected of him. And as he has grown, Andy Van Slyke's kid is more comfortable in his own skin. As he takes a strike, 3-2. And that's a hard admission, I imagine, for players who dream of being a star, and then all of a sudden, okay, there are 24 other pretty good players on this team too, and this is how he can best contribute, and contribute he has. Although he's down on strikes for Nice, that's his 3rd strikeout of the game and the 1st out of the 2nd.
Nice has pitched well at home here. In the 4 home starts, he has a 2.59 ERA, but only 1-2 is the record. He's only had 5 runs for support while he's pitched in those 4 starts here at home.
Nice grew up in the same hometown as Chad Billingsley, Defiance, Ohio. In his 6th big league season, ball outside and high, 1 ball and no strikes.
So they can both say they were teammates of a famous baseball player.
Defiant ones, are they? And here's Justin Turner. He takes high and outside, 2 balls and no strikes.
You had a famous teammate in your day.
Well, it was my teammate. We played against him.
Oh, you played against him on the same court?
On the same court. I had a lovely warm-up uniform.
Dr. J,
yeah.
huh?
That's he awesome. Was not the doctor yet. He was barely an intern.
Did he still have the big hair?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a matter of still. I don't think it had grown out yet. That's how long ago it was. Went to Roosevelt High School. And here, I'll give you a multiple choice question here after this 2-1. But first I can throw that in. All right. Roosevelt High School has produced 3 pretty notable alums. On 2 and 1. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Julius Erving, Eddie Murphy, and Howard Stern. Who is numero uno on that list?
As far as the most famous?
However you choose to look at it.
Howard Stern.
All right. Although Eddie Murphy.
He's the most current and the longest lasting.
You know, yes. But each of them.
I didn't know you wanted to debate me. Well. I thought you were just asking for an answer.
No. I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
I know.
It's perhaps a product of our age. Here's a 3-2.
Well, I absolutely love Julius Erving because I went to high school in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and was a huge 76ers fan.
Right.
So, as far as popularity in my heart, I would go with Julius Erving.
Okay. Just saying, you got 3 pretty good alums. We had a guy who works at a car wash now. Here's a 3-2. Foul back and out of play. A couple of others of ill repute, but that doesn't matter now. What does is that the Dodgers lead 1-0 with a 3-2 count in the top half of the 2nd, and A.J. Ellis mercifully getting us off that track.
Well, I'll tell you, we got on the track talking about Chad Billingsley, and he is doing a lot better.
He's very close, in fact, to a rehab. In our right center field, and Granderson, a curious route to the ball, makes the catch, 2 outs.
But also an example of how this is a pitcher's park. That ball hung up. And normally a routine fly ball given up, you just say, well, oh, they hit it in the right place and it dropped in. Well, the ball just seems to hang up in the air when there's this much humidity in the air. The particles in the air just hold the ball up. And Granderson snow coned it. It's not a good day to have a snow cone. It's a little chilly here.
All that, and the wind is blowing in, made life miserable for Granderson, who would make the play, and A.J. Ellis takes a strike. It's 0-1. Ellis at $154. He has 6 hits and 9 walks. And a base hit into right field. And it looks like A.J.'s going to get himself a double out of the deal. Bobbled briefly out there by Curtis Granderson. So Ellis with his 7th hit of the year and his 2nd double.
AJ was reminding our colleague Nomar Garcia-Parra that his wheels must be better than Nomar's when he played, because when they were teammates, AJ pinch ran for Nomar. But the punchline is that they were just trying to get Nomar off his feet in a blowout game, and AJ just came in to run for him.
He was bothered by an ankle.
Yes.
If I recall back then.
And calf issues. To this day, even in the old timers game that we just played at Dodger Stadium, Nomar was worried about blowing out. He said if his ankles and his calves would be good, he'd still be playing.
Zach Greinke, 4 for 16 with a fly ball to left field. Drifting on back is Campbell, and that'll end the inning. No runs, 1 hit, the Ellis double. We'll go to the bottom of the 2nd. Granderson, Campbell, and Duda coming up against Zach Greinke. And Greinke will be facing Granderson, Campbell, and Lucas Duda against a Met team that can't win at home, and they can't hit at home. Granderson, who is going to lead off here in the 2nd inning, hits 100 points less at Citi Field. Lucas Duda, worse than that. Daniel Murphy, about 70 points below what he hits on the road. And David Wright is even below his .299 average. What's amazing about this Met team, and again, they have had 3 consecutive losing seasons here at Citi Field, is that they average about 3 runs and 9 hits a game here as a team, batting .211. On the road, they average 5 runs and 9 base hits and hit .255. Is there any plausible explanation for that? That was, by the way, the Coors Light cold hard facts.
You know, they just need to hit less fly balls in this ballpark. Anybody playing in this ballpark needs to keep the ball out of the air. You want ground balls and line drives. If you happen to hit a fly ball, you want to make sure it's down the line, because nothing from the gap to gap is going anywhere.
Curtis Granderson leading off, and the Dodgers have the shift on for him on the right side of the infield, and he smacks it off to the left, and it's 0-1. Granderson, 6 home runs and 20 runs batted in. Just a shade over 200. In 2012 with the Yankees, and of course Yankee Stadium was tailor-made for his swing, 43 home runs and 106 runs batted in. One and 2 to Granderson. In 2011, Curtis Granderson led the American League with 119 runs batted in and 41 home runs. But with the Mets, 6 home runs and 20 RBIs and .206.
Kevin Long with the Yankees, the hitting coach there, did an outstanding job with Curtis in increasing his power, and to accentuate the fact that they could take advantage of the short right field wall in Yankee Stadium, they moved Curtis's hands away from his body so that he could pull them in a lot quicker, and they squared up his body so that he could see the pitch with two eyes. He was a lot more closed off, and his hands were behind his head, and that made him more of an opposite field hitter and really a lot more of a swing and misser. Kevin squared up his stance a little bit, got both of his eyes on the pitcher, and also got his hands away from his body, and that has really given him a clear path to take the bat to the ball.
A three-time All-Star in the American League. The 1-2 from Greinke. That goes practically as far as the ball did, or at least the front half.
Probably the great thing for Curtis Granderson is being still in New York, even though he left the Yankees. Kevin Long is just a text message or a phone call away. So the slump that he's in right now, I'm sure they have talked. Those relationships run very deep, hitting coaches and hitters. And as long as they're not in the same division and really competing against you, sometimes that help continues throughout a career.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Greinke to Granderson. We begin the bottom of the second, and it's 2-2. Granderson came up with the Tigers in 2004 and went to the Yankees in 2010 and moved to Queens this past winter. Three balls and 2 strikes.
Granderson almost went for that high fastball right there. That goes into the computer of Zach Greinke and A.J. Ellis. Probably going to make something look like it's there and then move it away.
So Granderson being a pest here in the second inning. Next pitch will be the 10th of this at bat. Greinke retired the Mets in order on 16 pitches in the first inning. And here's the 10th pitch. There'll be an 11th.
A.J. and Granderson are having a little chat about all these foul balls.
When you're in a battle like that, 10, 11, 12 pitches, whatever it is, how draining is it physically and psychologically? There'll be another.
The mental drain is the fun one. You know, you're just sitting out there going, all right, I'm locked in, I'm throwing strikes, he's swinging, I know I got him in swing mode. And for me, I used to think about what can I make look like a strike and end up a ball, because if I can make it look like a strike out of my hand, he is swinging, he's in swing mode. So then I can take it to a place. This is not a time really to try and fool him and get him to take. It's a time to keep the bat moving and have him hit it weakly. Fair territory would be nice too.
The center field, and Kemp's got a long way to go. And Granderson wins the battle in a big way, and after Kemp bobbles it at center field, Granderson goes to third. Granderson wins the battle. For Curtis Granderson, his first 3-base hit of the year.
This ball looks like it fools Matt Kemp a little bit, maybe on how hard it was hit or where he thinks it's going to end up. He never really looked like he got into full stride and where he wants to go. You see, when he ends up, the ball ends up landing, he's not really in the vicinity where he would want to be, even if he was on the correct route. Kind of ran too far to his left, and then that ball cut back to center field on him.
This is Eric Campbell, who hit his first big league home run last night. Out of Connecticut, hardly an overnight success. He's 27. So Granderson on a 12-pitch at bat wins the battle from Greinke. He is at third base, the tying run, and it's low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Defense has been one of the Dodgers' glaring shortcomings this year. Only the Nationals with more errors in the National League. And that's something that Mattingly addressed the other day. Hey, if we're going to get into a serious run, got to catch the ball better, be more in tune with the intellectual aspects of playing the game. Where to throw, how to cover.
This defense needs to be a sturdy defense. It's not going to be a dynamic, rangy defense. A couple places it can be. D. Gordon at second when he's in there. Yasiel Puig in right field. But most of the players that are playing defense for the Dodgers are players that need to get to a ball, catch a ball, and make sure they throw it to the proper base. If they can do that and be a sturdy, solid defense, that's what will help the pitching.
3-2.
It's not going to be a dynamic defense where they're going to make the exceptional, sensational plays, except in a couple positions. Matt Kemp is a good, solid center fielder. He's not a Gold Glove center fielder anymore.
That was the 4th error that he made in center field. Here's a 3-2. Into right center. Puig is in and over to make the catch. Granderson's on his way home. Throw to the plate. Granderson scores on the sac fly, and the Dodgers and Mets are tied at 1.
Well, that'll go as an unearned run so far with the error that got Granderson to third. But Puig gave it a shot. And this is one of the most dynamic defenders on the field for the Dodgers. That arm is an absolute rocket, and it amazes me how accurate he is with it. As hard as he's throwing the ball is as much as he can get his body in line and launch that. Trying to judge the tail right there. Outstanding attempt by Yasiel.
That was the most interesting part about the play, how he was able to position himself to receive the ball with an angle toward the plate and uncork really all in one motion.
Doing more and more things, fundamentally sound and according to the way the game should be played. That's what's putting him in these hot streaks.
Lucas Duda takes inside. Now remember, Zach Greinke has allowed 2 runs or less in 21 consecutive starts. We're tied at 1 with 1 out in the bottom of the 2nd. So Granderson wins a 12-pitch at bat with a double, goes to third on the Kemp error, bobbling the ball in center. Comes in to score on the Campbell sac fly, and Duda, 3-1, has 5 home runs and 19 runs batted in. Greinke looking to become the first 8-game winner in the major leagues. And he walks Duda. Greinke came into the game in 53 innings, having walked only 12 batters. And so A.J. Ellis is going to go out and have a chat with Greinke. All right, so Greinke loses that 12-pitch at-bat. Granderson doubles, goes to third on the error, comes in to score. So in this inning alone, he has now thrown 23 pitches.
16 in the first inning with 11 strikes. And fighting his way through this inning.
How much does an at-bat like that against Granderson take something out of you?
It does. You have a short-term effect, and then you have the long-term effect. The long-term effect is you're getting close to 100 pitches, and that's the line of demarcation in this generation of when you're supposed to be tired. But the short-term effect is the fact that, you know, when you get above 23 to 26 pitches an inning, all of a sudden you start creeping up closer to 30, 35. You're reaching a fatigue level on the short term that it's really hard to recover. And your effectiveness does go downhill.
And you lost a battle. And the game is tied. Wilmer Flores, 7 for 22 since his call up. And he whacks one foul.
That's the other reason for visits from the catcher. Your shortstop coming in and grabbing the rosin bag and giving you a blow. Your pitching coach coming out after you've thrown a lot of pitches. They're trying to simulate a rest time and in between innings time to get you to be able to kind of reboot your computer and get your strength back.
0-2 to Flores. Anthony Recker on deck. It's been raining in Colorado for about an hour, maybe more. Giants and Rockies tied at 2 in the 6th inning. Dodgers know all about rain, and especially on getaway days. At that day-night doubleheader in Minnesota. Into right center field, a long run for Kent, and did Puig make that catch? Oh my goodness! What a catch! And safe at first base. It looked like it was going to be Kemp's ball. Puig said, "No, sir, I'll take it if you don't mind," and he took it. What a play by Yasiel Puig, who's getting a standing ovation from Met fans in New York.
We talked about a sturdy Dodger defense, and there'll be a few that can be dynamic, and there's the guy. You got a scorebook? That's a F9 with a huge star on it. A backhand diving stab. And thank goodness he came up healthy, because that's when you get shoulder problems when you do that. And Zach is like, get it to first, too. Keep thinking. I'm not going to applaud it yet, but I will as soon as the play's over.
Wilmer Flores. Robbed by Yasiel Puig. The legend continues. Anthony Recker is now the batter. Oh, goodness.
Amazing that Duda got back, because you can't believe that that ball would get caught. That would have been an exceptional double play.
Remember, in his first week with the Dodgers last year, Yasiel Puig doubled up Chris Denorfia at first base at Dodger Stadium to end the game with his foot basically lodged against the wall. And he almost got a double play on that one. Even David Wright can't believe it. Two balls and one strike.
There's David Wright sitting next to Flores, laughingly saying, hang with him. Hit it to somebody else.
Yasiel Puig's traveling roadshow.
Watch Duda as he's watching the play. He goes around, he put his head down and turned, and just out of the corner of his eye sees the catch. He assumed that ball was not going to be caught.
So did everybody else.
He had one of the best angles to see how close the two fielders were going to be to it as the ball was descending.
And as the ball was taking off, you would have thought it was in fact Kemp who had a better angle to the ball. So Recker walks.
The pitch count has doubled as far as per inning. 16 in the first and now 32 so far in the second. Zach Greinke struggling with his command. You don't usually see him walk two batters in an inning. I don't know when the last time I can remember he's done that. He continually kind of walks around a little bit and is kind of pensive about his mechanics or something going on in his body. It just doesn't seem like he is free and easy.
Well, he retired the Mets in order in the first on 16 pitches. And he has thrown 32 of them here in the second. And Jonathan Neese, who like every Met pitcher this side of Jacob deGrom is 0 for something. Neese is 0 for 10. Met pitching as hitters, not so good. DeGrom is 2 for 3, and the others are 0 for 72. 0 for 72. You'd think just dumb luck. Somebody would have one drop in somewhere. That's 45 games worth of collar. There's DeGrom.
It's the best hitting pitcher on their team, Charlie.
He's the only hitting pitcher on their team. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1-2 to Nice. So, you know, we will look back as the game progresses on the Granderson leadoff at bat here in the bottom of the second. 12 pitches, and on the 12th pitch, he doubled to center. Kemp made an error, and Puig, with a remarkable catch, robbing Flores, saved what could have been a really big inning, which has now come to an end. 1 run, 1 hit, 1 error, and 2 left. Nomination for Catch of the Year, we present this one. Figgins starting at second base for the first time this year. D. Gordon has got the night off, and Alana Rizzo tells us why.
Well, he's played in 44 of the Dodgers' 47 games this season, Charlie, but his lack of production recently is probably a good explanation as why Don Mattingly wanted to give D. Gordon the night off. You can take a look at some of the numbers as of late, and through May 3rd, Gordon had a .357 batting average, 19 stolen bases, but in 16 games since, Gordon batting just .194. Now, he's dropped his average 61 points. He's sitting at about .296 right now. So Don Mattingly saying it's a good day to give him off.
And, you know, talking to D at some length prior to the game today, D felt pretty good about it. As Figgins takes a strike, 0-1. So much so that he knows that while he's given the day off today, and he admits he's a little worn down, more than anything else, he knows he's got his job tomorrow. And so in many ways for D. Gordon, getting the night off is almost graduation day, in that he is sufficiently secure at second base now. And it was a battle in February and March who was going to be the Dodger everyday second baseman, and Figgins was certainly involved in the battle. But now he can sit back and say, all right, I need a day off. I can sit and rest and watch the game and know that I'll be working again tomorrow.
It's a mental blow for him, too. Yesterday, I saw a sign of that he might be pressing a little bit now that the average dipped below 300. When in the 6th inning, he had an 0-2 count, and he squared the bunt and took a fastball in the outside corner for called strike 3. It just looks a little bit like pressing. So I think Don Mattingly probably recognized that, and a little fatigue and the average going down, saying, you're our man, you're our guy, but I think you need your day off.
And then you also throw into the mix that the lefty Nice is on the hill, and Figgins, the switch hitter. David Wright throws him out, 1 out. So it was a perfect time to give Gordon the night off and Figgins an opportunity to play. There's D. Well, here's Yasiel Puig, who has already made the highlights tonight with this Carl's Cam replay, robbing Wilmer Flores of extra bases and nearly turned it into a double play. So it didn't take long for Puig to make his presence felt tonight. Takes a strike. It's 0-1. In all 3 of the big New York newspapers today, the Daily News, the Post, and the New York Times, big, long feature pieces about Puig and his ascendance to star quality in Major League Baseball.
Well deserved, because he is, as you said, Ron Darling said, compelling.
Compelling. Here's the 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And you can make an argument now, a compelling argument, that as of May the 22nd, at a little past 8 o'clock in New York, you're looking at baseball's biggest star. You can't take your eyes off him. And after he made that spectacular catch, robbing Flores in the second, a standing ovation from Met fans, who are about as warm and gracious as Philly fans. But when you get a standing ovation from them, you've earned it. One out. Ramirez on deck. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers, a run and a hit for the Mets. After the game, like the good old days, the Dodgers will take the train to Philadelphia with Hanley Ramirez on deck. And tomorrow night, Clayton Kershaw and Roberto Hernandez. Dan Herron against somebody on Saturday, because them's the rules, although they haven't announced who the Phillies will send. Puig doesn't like the called 3rd strike. That's the 4th strikeout for Nice, 2 out. And on Sunday, Josh Beckett and A.J. Burnett, and then the Dodgers head home.
What do strike zone think of this pitch? It looked a little wide to me. It caught the edge right there. Let's see why Yasiel was thinking it was outside, but Nice dotted the corner.
2 out, and Hanley Ramirez coming up. Nice entered the game with an ERA of 2.5. This is high and outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Ramirez singled to center in his first at bat. Hanley at 256. Adrian Gonzalez on deck.
You have to be so mentally strong to be a starting pitcher on the Mets staff right now, knowing you're not going to get much run support, pitching against lineups that you know are stronger than yours. Jonathan Nice here at Citi Field is 19-25 with a 3.6 ERA, so he's pitched adequately, but he has nothing to show as far as the record. Hard to bring along young pitchers when you don't support them. They feel like they're coming from AAA all the way up to like big leagues in the half.
Those of us who are lucky enough to watch the game from Red Barber's catbird seat often talk about the relative insignificance of a 1-loss record for a pitcher, and really it's earned run average, and those are things over which you have control. When you were a pitcher, did the 1-loss record mean anything to you? It's better to win than to lose, of course, but beyond that, what did you come away with after each game, with a win or a loss, as to how you pitched the game.
Well, I evaluated my performance on how efficient I was and how effective I was by getting people out. And if I happen to lose because of bad defense, or I happen to lose because of fortunate breaks where balls weren't hit very well but they found holes, I wouldn't go back and try and reinvent the wheel. It was about execution, not results. But you're looking also in games, if you look at games in a microcosm, the smaller part of the game, you do give up runs sometimes on purpose to keep out of big innings so that you try and win the game. If you're up 7-1 and give up a leadoff double, you don't pitch to try and save that run. You pitch to just get outs, and you don't care if you give that run up.
Ramirez to right field. Granderson heading back. Wynn keeps it up. Granderson makes the play, and the Dodgers go down in order. Be the top of the order for the Mets in the bottom of the third. We are tied at 1 in New York. And they host the Cincinnati Reds at 5:10 and be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance. And you'll take home an Andre Ethier-themed barbecue apron presented by Farmer John. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Be the top of the order for the Mets against Zach Greinke, who struggled through the second inning. He threw 16 pitches in the first, 36 in the second, and was lucky to get away with only 1 run. Lagares and Murphy and Wright to bat. Lagares bounced to short in his first at bat. And he smacks one into center field, but right at Matt Kemp. 1 pitch, 1 out in the third, and that's certainly what Zach Greinke needs here in the third inning, a quick and efficient inning. Which then raises the question, knowing that Greinke threw all those pitches in the second, he was at 52 beginning in the third. Is Lagares' best serve swinging at the first pitch? Or is that just...
He is when he hits a bullet.
Yeah. Or is that just second guessing? You want to work Greinke a little bit? Well, 1 pitch, 1 out. Daniel Murphy is the batter. Murphy bounced to short in his first at bat.
It's an outing where he looks like he's fighting through some mechanical issues or something on the mound that's keeping him from locating. Throwing an awful lot of balls, and the ball is up a little bit, and he's only given up the 1 run, but it's just not the Greinke we saw that dominated Arizona in his last start.
A run and a hit he's given up, but it's cost him 56 pitches so far. Yeah, we're awfully spoiled by Zach Greinke. Since coming to the Dodgers, he is 22-5. And they are 29-8. Gonzalez with the underhanded toss to Greinke, 2 gone.
A nice little changeup right there. Been trying to speed him up and slow him down. The curveball's really kind of abandoned him as far as for a strike. Used a slider to punch out John Neese last inning to end the inning, but the fastball changeup combination is looking like the one that he's been trying to serve to the lefties.
Well, here's David Wright, who took a called third strike in his first at-bat. Still raining in Colorado. 2-2, the Giants and Rockies in the 6th inning. Dodgers are 4 games behind San Francisco, 1 behind second place Colorado. Wright takes a strike. David Wright with 28 hits this month. Only one man has more in the month of May, Yasiel Puig. One ball, one strike to David Wright. In his career against the Dodgers, .371. It's the highest batting average against the Dodgers of any active player. 2-1.
Fastball away, a two-seamer, a fastball in, now a slider away. He hasn't thrown the same pitch or the same location twice in this at bat.
Backhanded by Ramirez, the throw not in time. David Wright with the 2-out infield single.
Backs the sliders up and gets the ground ball, but just David hits it in the hole there, the 6-hole. Only plants and fires, but David still can run well enough to beat that one out.
Tom Goodwin, first base coach, one-time Dodger. Curtis Granderson coming up. Granderson, a 12-pitch at-bat in the 2nd inning. He would win it with a double to center, and when the ball was bobbled by Kemp in center, Granderson went to third and came around to score on a sacrifice fly off the bat of rookie Eric Campbell, who is on deck. One and one to Granderson.
A little better location in the last 5 or 6 pitches coming out of Zach Greinke.
Curtis from just outside Chicago. Tigers, Yankees, now the Mets. Granderson, when he signed with the Mets over the winter, said he came over here because he loved the Met fan base. And the Yankee fans were saying, what are we, chopped liver? Swing and a miss, throw to second base, and Wright is out. What a throw by A.J. Ellis. Ellis, who threw out 44% of would-be base stealers last year, fires a strike. And for Ellis, that's a second would-be base stealer cut down in his tracks. Is brought to you by Honda. Start something special with a great deal on a Honda. Now at your Honda dealer. A third of the way through the game, tied at 1. The Dodgers 3 hits. And the Mets have 2. Adrian Gonzalez, who cracked his 12th home run of the year last night, kind of likes a center cut, doesn't he?
Yeah, the first part of hitting is getting a good pitch to hit. And once you get a good pitch to hit with Adrian's eye and discipline, do something with it. And he has in a very powerful way.
Gonzalez has home runs in 3 consecutive games. Earlier in the year, he had home runs in 4 consecutive games. When you're hot, you're hot. And right now, Adrian is red hot. And he grounds it to third, backhanded by Wright, playing well off the line and perfectly positioned. First out of the 4th. That'll bring up Matt Kemp. Kemp struck out swinging in his first at bat.
It was an at bat where Nice worked him in with the fastball and then went with 2 off-speed curveballs away that had Matt out in front. See if either one of them starts making an adjustment right here. It's the same breaking ball that he finished him with. Here he starts him off with it.
Van Slyke on deck. A Gonzalez sac fly in the first. A Campbell sac fly in the second for the Mets. We're tied at 1 in the 4th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dodgers 3-2 on the road trip. Losing 2 of 3 in Arizona. Looking to sweep the Mets here in New York. Then it's on to Philly. Strike on the outside corner. And it's 1-2. The Mets have lost 6 of 7, 8 of their last 12, and are 5-14 in the month of May. Kemp down on strikes for the second time. 5th strikeout for Nice. And there's 2 out.
And Matty didn't like it down there by the hollow of the knee. It's not your kneecap, it's the bottom, the hollow of the knee, and boy, that is borderline. I can see why he doesn't like it, especially when it's your 2nd strikeout of the night.
5 for Nice, 2 out, and Van Slyke takes inside, 1 ball and no strikes.
This is one of those games right now. It's starting to feel like the Dodgers are letting the Mets up off the mat. They've got 2 games in their hip pocket, about to go to Philadelphia tonight. Chance to sweep them. Zach Greinke on the mound. Had a 1-0 lead, and now it's just kind of in that lull right now where who's going to take over.
As murky as the weather. Into right and over toward the line is Granderson. And another 1-2-3 inning for Jonathan Nice. He's retired 7 straight. 1-1. We go to the bottom of the 4th. and Campbell and Duda will bat. And join us on the next episode of Backstage Dodgers as we take a look at a day in the life of Andre Ethier, the dad. Catch a new episode of Backstage Dodgers tonight at 8 p.m. on Sportsnet LA. So Zach Greinke, a much more efficient third inning after a 36-pitch second inning. Greinke looking to become the first 8-game winner in Major League Baseball. Wainwright of the Cardinals has 7. Burley has 7 for the Blue Jays. Greinke is 7-1 on the year. And Granderson, who was left standing at the altar when Wright tried to steal second base in the bottom of the third, leading it off here in the fourth. There's a call strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. When the Blue Jays won today, beating the Red Sox 7-2, Mark Burley won his 8th game. So Greinke can equal Burley today. Pop foul, and Ellis runs out of room.
Mark Burley works quick like Zach Greinke. They both get on the mound and get the ball and throw it. A lot of guys that are a lot of fun to play behind. Defenders will tell you anytime, give me a strike thrower and give me somebody that gets the ball and gets back on the mound and lets it go.
When they are inevitably strike throwers, opposing hitters are more apt to swing early in a count. Thus we get quick games. Don't have enough of them anymore, do we?
We have games you can time with an hourglass.
To right field, Puig is there.
It's just got to have enough sand in it to last 4 hours.
We've had games you could time with a sundial, which makes it increasingly difficult at night. We had that 5-hour, 11-minute game in Minnesota, the getaway day-night doubleheader. Naturally, it went 12 innings. We took off at 1:45 Central Time, arrived in Miami at 6 a.m. in bed at 7, and 12 hours later playing the Marlins in the first of that 3-game set a couple of weeks back. Wasn't that joyous?
Whoa. That's work. That's the big leagues. That's the grind.
Campbell a sac fly at his first at bat. 1 ball, 1 strike. Eric Campbell, 6'3", about 210, from Norwich, Connecticut.
He's got some pop, some thunder in that bat. A home run last night, came in the 6th inning. He showed off a good strong arm early in this game from left field, where he rocketed a ball to second base to hold Hanley Ramirez on the sac fly by Adrian Gonzalez.
In his 7th professional season, his first year at the big level. The ground ball to short. Ramirez throws him out. Lucas Duda coming up.
Since the strikeout to end the second of Jonathan Neese, Zach Greinke's kind of zoned in on a little bit better command and getting some people out. The only scratch hit was the David Wright infield hit, but other than that, he's retired everybody he's seen since that last out in the second, and been in the strike zone and with good misses. He might be finding his range, Charlie.
Lucas Duda walked in his first at bat. It was a tough second inning for Greinke. He has settled down since. We should all have such tough second innings when he gives up 1 run and 1 hit. But it took him 36 pitches, 2 walks along the way. Wasn't helped by an error. And so we're tied with 2 out in the bottom of the 4th at 1.
This is why no matter how you dissect Zach Greinke's statistics since becoming a Dodger, if you find ERA after losses, how's he done after wins, how's he pitch on the road? Well, how's he pitch on the road? Last 15 starts on the road, a 1.86, and he's 11-1. But the reason he has those stats is because he does find a way on the nights when he's not himself completely locked in. He's a great adjuster and a great self-evaluator of what he needs to do, change, and get better.
Well, mission accomplished to end the fourth inning. With his third strikeout, nothing across for the Mets. We go to the fifth. Dodgers-Mets are tied at 1. Well, after 4 innings of play, a run and 3 hits for the Dodgers, a run and 2 hits for the Mets, and it'll be the bottom third of the Dodger order as we go to the fifth. Justin Turner, A.J. Ellis, and Zach Greinke against Jonathan Nice. Nice has struck out 5, hasn't walked anyone.
With the power surge the Dodgers showed yesterday, they better not bank on home runs off of Nice. In 126 career starts, he's only allowed 72 home runs. That's the 5th fewest among active pitchers who have started at least 125 games.
And just 3 this year in 54 innings, including tonight, and Turner takes a strike. It's 0-1.
One thing is he pitches in this spacious ballpark, but the other is he does a very good job of keeping the ball out of the middle of the plate and keeping it down. Misses are down there. He gets a few more ground balls, and people don't seem to square up the long fly ball.
Only 22 balls of the 61 pitches he has thrown tonight. Two and 1 to Turner.
We're going to have to string some base hits together or find some gaps.
Juan Lagares has played a noticeably shallow center field against every Dodger hitter in the series.
Adrian Johnson behind the plate has done a very good job keeping his emotions in check. He's had some head turners throughout the night on called strikes. Justin Turner right there, Matt Kemp on a few, Hanley Ramirez maybe a few, and he's holding his composure and doing a great job back there as far as keeping the Dodgers in the game.
Johnson in his 7th big league season. Turner has worked the count full. Leading off the 5th. First walk of the game given up by Jonathan Nice.
Big league umpires will tell you you can ask me about a call, you can even gripe about a call, but keep your head down or keep your head pointed out towards center field. Don't turn around and snap your neck towards me if you're going to gripe about something.
Don't show me up.
Keep your body language like we're not talking, but go ahead and try and talk to me.
Ellis double to right. A liner over the first baseman's glove. Duda back in the second inning. Zach Greinke, who's on deck, is a very good hitting pitcher.
Ellis hit a slow curveball down the right field line his first at bat. Somebody who has a great eye usually tracks the ball for a while, and those slow pitches don't always get them out in front. Those are the type of hitters for me that you have to speed them up, meaning get the fastball in on them a little bit before you're going to get them out in front of a breaking ball.
One ball, one strike to A.J. Ellis. Hitting 175, but a 340 on base percentage, as Ellis has 7 hits and 9 walks and a 2-1 count.
Hit and run count right here if you want to get aggressive. Kind of tough against Neese, who has a short leg kick as a lefty. But the combination of Ellis and Turner is one that Don Mattingly could pull the trigger on.
Well, that's an 1-6-3 double play.
Well, you might say, why didn't they play hit and run? Well, Neese did a great job with a very quick slide step right there. And Ellis was thinking about it, but it was a cutter in on him, and it jammed him with an excuse me swing, like you said, Charlie.
So there's 2 out. And Greinke coming up. Fly to left in his first at bat. The Silver Slugger Award winner last year as the best hitter at his position. So he was the best hitting pitcher in the game last year. 328. Three hits for the Dodgers, 2 hits for the Mets. Just foul, and Greinke said, come on, that's a base hit, isn't it? Angel Hernandez said, no, sir.
Zach's still asking about something. I don't know if it's a fair or foul, or maybe he's asking Mattingly to use the replay. Ask for the replay on the fair foul. Here's a good angle. Ball stays in the picture. Well, we know it's fair when it left the bat, but
to routine left field, Campbell is there. And that'll end the inning. No runs, no hits, a walk, nobody left. At the halfway mark, after 4.5, Dodgers and Mets are tied at 1. Bring the kids to Dodger Stadium Sunday, June the 1st. The Dodgers and the Pirates, game time at 5 o'clock. And the first 15,000 kids 14 and under will look just like the players with their replica batting helmet compliments of Orion Choco Pie. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So after a shaky second inning, Zach Greinke has regained his sea legs, and he'll be facing the bottom third of the Met order in the bottom of the fifth, beginning with Wilmer Flores. 36 pitches in that second inning, and yet he just gave up 1 run and 1 hit. 12 pitches to Curtis Granderson on the 12th. He doubled to center after the ball was bobbled off the wall by Matt Kemp. Granderson would go to third, a sacrifice fly for Campbell, and a walk, and one of the great catches of the year from Yasiel Puig robbing Flores. And Recker would walk, and Neese would strike out. It has been raining on and off through the day here in New York, and it let up just in the nick of time for play to begin as scheduled. There's still more rain in the forecast, but as a result, there's a lot of mud caked to the spikes of Zach Greinke.
And they have the firm rubber treading out there that he can kick it off on, but even that is not getting those off. Zach trying to use that and also dig it out. It gets caked on your spikes. All of a sudden you feel that extra weight on your feet. You don't feel the rhythm, and also then your spikes don't work. You slip.
It was Flores who was robbed by Puig in the second inning. A catch you will be seeing a lot on TV tonight and in future days. Can Adrian Gonzalez get there? Again, if you are just joining us, this is what you missed in the second inning.
Baseball players have to run, hit, throw, and catch, and that is a great one. Athleticism and a lot of guts to catch that ball.
That really was a we'll see as the game goes on, a game-changing catch, because that was when Greinke was on the ropes. He had just walked Duda after the double, the error, the sac fly. Pitch count was mounting. Flores with that line drive to right center. And instead of a base hit and a run scored, it's 2 out. And Duda was nearly doubled off at first base. Recker would walk, then Neese would strike out. So Puig, while the box score says he's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, has saved at least a run tonight.
Duda was a half a dozen feet around second base, and noticed out of the corner of his eye that Puig came up with the miraculous catch and had to scamper back to first base. He would have definitely scored if the ball was dropped.
4th strikeout for Greinke.
And we're seeing better and better location over the last 8 batters or so from Zach Greinke. Just the scratch single by David Wright in the infield, the only blemish in the last few innings. Pretty bad when the only problem with his outing is a couple walks and a high pitch count. That's how he has spoiled us. He's only given up 2 hits.
Looking to become the second 8-game winner in the majors. Mark Burley beat the Red Sox today. The Giant Rocky game has been suspended in the 6th inning in Denver. They had 1 rain delay of 80-something minutes, a 2nd rain delay of 80-something minutes, and then they said, forget it. So they will pick up where they left off today sometime in September when the Giants next visit the Rockies. Now you remember when the Dodgers were in Washington and they had that 3-hour and 17-minute rain delay. Greinke was pitching that night. And that's his only loss of the year.
And that was his only real short outing.
That was because of 3 hours and 17 minutes of delay.
He was going a minimum of 6 innings over his last few starts as his pitch count got built up, and coming out of spring training it started to extend, and he looked like he was going to get on a roll of 6s, 7s, and 8s as far as innings pitched. And then the weather got in his way of that string.
Ended up with but 3 innings of work that night. And his previous start was also in lousy weather in Minnesota when it was really lousy. Kemp and Puig on the run, and it drops between them. And Flores will hold at second base. The record. Anthony Record with the double to right center.
This one, Matt Kemp runs the correct route. Recker hits a really nice pitch, low and away, just stays with it, shows his strength. This ball, because it's hit from a right-hander, is curving away from Kemp and towards Puig, and Puig takes over with the stronger arm to get it in and hold him to a double.
Now Jonathan Neese, a strikeout victim in his first at-bat. Lead run in scoring position with 1 out. And that was to right center. And Jonathan Neese to the wall. Recker comes in to score. And Neese with a base hit. The only other base hit for Met pitching this year. Just now, Jonathan Neese. Jacob deGrom, last night's starter, had the only 2 hits for the season for the Mets. And here is Neese giving himself a 2-1 lead.
Time for the Dodgers to come back, but one of the things you hate to do as a pitcher is to give up a game-winning RBI to a pitcher on a fastball. And Zach will think about that right there with a runner in scoring position. He'd struck Neese out on a slider in the dirt in the at-bat before. Neese didn't look very good at that, just trying to get ahead, and Neese made him pay.
With his 5th career double and his first base hit of the season. Now Lagares takes a ball low, 1 ball and no strikes. The natives in New York are beginning to get restless about the Mets. And the talk shows are being flooded with calls surrounding the leadoff hitter, Lagares, who's hitting .315 and has been watching a disproportionate number of games lately, with Eric Young and Chris Young getting more playing time than Lagares. Chris Young's hitting .206, Eric Young's hitting .220, and Lagares at the moment at .310. And so the fans are saying, what gives? Well, he's getting the job done, Lagares. And Terry Collins was getting the once over from the Met media prior to the game today. Well, you got Eric Young and Chris Young, a little more expensive. Lagares, a youngster. They were saying, well, his swing was getting long. And Met fans are saying, long or not, he's hitting 100 points better than the other guys.
And New York's the kind of town, it's really a lot about what have you done for me lately. People want to know what's going on right now. And Lagares, as far as right now, is the best player of the 3.
Now, that's the look of a Met fan, the way things have gone around here. They've had 3 consecutive losing seasons at home. And 9-14 at Citi Field this year.
Well, resume and investment, the other 2 players are the guys they've invested in. As far as talent and current production, the guy at the plate right now seems to be the top choice, especially of the fans.
Well, in New York, they call him the People's Church. Hey, it's the People's Church. Let him play. Two balls, 2 strikes, and 1 out. And a 2-1 Met lead. 3-2. Daniel Murphy, the Mets' best hitter this year, is on deck. Back-to-back doubles for Recker, the number 8 hitter. Nice, the pitcher. And now the 3-2. Slowly hit over the middle. Ramirez throws him out. Lagares is retired. Nice goes to third. Greinke was poised to make a leap, but realized it wasn't that tall and didn't have the hops.
Since the Mets tied the game in the second, when Granderson doubled and then came in later because of the error in center field and some other production, Dodgers have been 9 up, 9 down. We talked about how this game kind of was a little bit in a lull. The Mets tied it up, and all of a sudden they've just taken advantage of the lack of offense from the Dodgers.
And this is the first time the Mets have led in the series. And again, as we mentioned, Zach Greinke has given up 2 runs or less in 21 consecutive starts. At the moment, he's trailing 2-1 with 2 out, a run into the bottom of the 5th. As Greinke is approaching 100 pitches.
There's some decision right here. A.J. Ellis out there with a 2-0 count here to Murphy. Murphy, a left-hander that is a very, very good hitter. David Wright on deck. So this is the part of the order that the sabermetricians will say it doesn't really matter who's hitting behind. It matters just this at bat. It matters an awful lot, I think.
Turner boots it. That's going to cost a run. Second error of the night for the Dodgers. 3-1 New York. The Dodgers' 39th error of the year.
Justin Turner does the right thing and the aggressive thing. They're playing him off the line, guarding the 6th hole. That's his job, to cut in front of Hanley right there. That's the quickest way to get the ball to first base, but you got to get it in the glove, and then you got to transfer it and throw it over there. But Hanley, see him running the opposite direction away from first base because of the defensive alignment. Turner gets there in time, just clanks it.
Dodgers have made 2 errors tonight, responsible for both or 2 of the 3 New York runs.
Zach Greinke and A.J. Ellis decided to pitch Murphy tough with the 2-0 count, and even David Wright on deck was the man on third. They went with a 2-0 changeup, got him out where they wanted to him. Weakly hit ball, just didn't get the out recorded.
Right check a swing? No. Rookie umpire and vacation reliever Stu Shearwater. In the second inning, Granderson at the end of a 12-pitch at-bat doubled into center field off the wall. Then it was bobbled by Kemp. That allowed Granderson to go to third, and then Eric Campbell with his sac fly. Of course, if it had just been a double, there would have been no sac fly. And then Murphy with 2 out. Ball is clanked by Turner at third. So 2 of the 3 runs because of Dodger errors.
Sometimes errors lead to runs and unearned runs, and other times just inefficiency of defense leads to runs. And big league scouts and general managers and coaches not only watch the error column, but they watch the ball should be an out column that falls in for a hit or doesn't get recorded as an out.
Turner throws out right, and that will end the inning. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error. We go to the 6th. Mets lead 3-1. brought to you by Jack in the Box. Head to Jack in the Box and try the new Jack's Blazing Chicken Sandwich. It's Jack's hottest sandwich yet. And by the Ram 1500, Motor Trend's 2014 Truck of the Year and first ever back-to-back champion. Sean Figgins will lead it off as we head to the sixth. Boy, that looks good. Jonathan Neese has looked really good. 77 pitches through 5. He has given up 1 run, 3 hits. 2 errors have certainly not helped the Mets' cause tonight. Figgins making his first start at second base this year. D. Gordon with just a richly deserved night off, especially with the lefty Neese going. And a call strike, 0-1. Figgins has singled to left. He scored a run. The Dodgers took a 1-0 lead in the first. The Mets would tie it in the second and scored 2 in the fifth. So the Dodgers trail by 2 as we begin the sixth inning, and Figgins squares to bunt, nearly gets hit. And nearly went around as well. Figgins and Puig and Ramirez to bat. Dodgers looking to make it a 3-game sweep of New York. Figgins takes high and outside, 2-1. Since July 12th of last year, the Dodgers have beaten the Mets 11 out of 12, including 6 in a row. First time the Mets have been taken 6 straight by the Dodgers since 1996. Inside and low, 3-1.
A shutdown inning for Jonathan Neese, and they get back in the game and get it all square for the Dodgers.
On 3-1. Sean Figgins walks for the 7th time. He has 6 hits this year and 7 walks and an on-base percentage of about .450. Second walk of the night given up by Neese.
Yasiel saved a run with his defense. Now looking to get the bat going tonight.
Puig has been struck out twice. He's 0 for 2. In May, he's merely hitting .403. With 7 home runs, 22 runs batted in, and a .500 on base percentage. What a run he has been on. There's a strike, 1-1.
So he's not only had, well, watch out this body language. Looking back, hands on hips and shaking your head. This has a tendency to turn into a argument.
The 1-1. There's 1. They're not going to get 2. Figgins, safe.
They're not going to call the transfer rule. They're going to say that ball was never caught at second base. Terry Collins has got another opinion about it.
Second base umpire Larry Vanover, the crew chief. Well, looks like we may be watching some television here.
Can't really tell from that angle if the ball's caught. The umpires usually give the middle infielders the benefit of the doubt around the bag. In the vicinity and the transfer rule, as far as Larry is saying, this ball was never captured.
Bob Guerin, the bench coach, was on the telephone. And they're going to have a replay, have another look. Well, it certainly cuts down on the vehemence of the arguments. Well, let's have a look-see and see what the folks across the river have to see.
I don't think they're going to give him that one. I don't think Larry got it right.
Murphy never caught it cleanly.
Middle infielders, some of the best, will deflect the ball from the heel of their glove into the palm of their bare hand, their throwing hand, and that's how they turn the double play so quickly and transfer so quickly. But that one was not even in the vicinity.
Hanover got it right. It was a snow cone. Unfortunately, the cone fell on his pants. So the Dodgers have first and second, and a big error. Murphy never caught it cleanly.
This one hits the thumb of the glove and just takes it away. Normally, middle infielders use the palm or the heel of their glove a little bit closer to the left wrist.
Well, one of the things about the instant replay review, most of them have averaged about 90 seconds or so. This one took less than a minute, 51 seconds.
He had a very good angle and a very sharp look at it. It was pretty easy.
Well, as Hanley Ramirez steps into the batter's box after the meeting at the mound held by pitching coach Dan Worthen has come to an end. Hanley tonight is 1 for 2, Alana.
Well, he's hitting just .254 as he gets ready to take his second at-bat of the night. But there's really no need to panic, guys, when it comes to Hanley Ramirez. He does not seem to do well at the beginning of the season, but he certainly gets better as the year goes on. You can see the average increasingly steadying as the season progresses, ending the regular season with a .317 average, and we know what he can do in the postseason, guys.
Hanley Ramirez, a single to center. He's also flied to right. And in half a season with the Dodgers last year, 86 games to be precise, .345, 20 home runs, and 57 runs batted in. So the Dodgers with the tying runs aboard.
If the Dodgers get to a postseason, he'll do better with a healthy rib, too.
Well, not so good on that at bat. And the infield fly rule. The ball is bobbled. Now the runners can advance at their own peril. And that's going to be a double play as Puig was running on the infield fly. Now, Ramirez is out at first base.
Ramirez is automatically out. The runners advance at their own risk. They don't have to tag because the ball was dropped. Puig would have been safe if he'd have stayed on the bag and not wandered through second base. Hanley Ramirez had no chance at third to be tagged out no matter what the Mets thought they could do, or Sean Figgins. The infield fly rule was called by the umpires a little bit late, but as soon as Murphy was under it and it became routine, that's when you'll see Larry Vanover at second base, the second base umpire, raise his arm. Right about now, he says infield fly rule. I'm not sure he made the correct read on the infield fly rule, but
Puig fundamentally made a mistake.
Huge mistake.
As soon as the ball is dropped again, you run at your own risk. He didn't have to go anywhere.
The ball's in fair territory and drop, whether it's infield fly rule or not. He knows it's dropped. That's why he started to run. Just stand on the base. One of the things in base running, when you're confused, stand on a base. Don't stand off a base.
Limit the damage.
You're not moving anyway when you're off the base because you're confused and you don't know whether to go back or stay, but stand on a base.
Now Adrian Gonzalez, it's dubbing at 2, and the Dodgers take themselves out of a big inning.
So the reason Puig goes by right there is he thinks he's forced. He is not forced because the infield fly rule was in effect and Hanley Ramirez was automatically out, so there is no force play at second base.
You run at your own risk. He did, and he's done.
It is the first Puigism that we have seen in a long, long time. As far as wondering what was he thinking, where is he?
Ground ball to short. Flores. That ends the inning. The dreams of a big inning quashed and squashed on an infield fly rule and Yasiel Puig base running blunder. Goes on with the infield fly rule as Yasiel Puig makes a base running faux pas.
The thing that confuses Yasiel, not only the infield fly rule, but now that the ball's dropped, he doesn't realize the infield fly rule has been called. And it was called awfully late by Larry Vanover. But Yasiel thought he was forced out. Now he is tagged out.
Well, it's the umpire's discretion as to whether or not the ball can reasonably be caught by an infielder on a play like that.
It has nothing to do with where they are in the infield dirt or if they're in the outfield grass. Can they reasonably catch it? The reason I say that this ball is called late by Larry is usually at about the apex of the pop-up, right about there where Murphy's calling it. You would have said infield fly rule. Well, it didn't. He didn't put his arm up probably until about the last 30 feet of that ball falling to the ground.
But even so, Puig was a third of the way off first base, and as soon as the ball was dropped, that's when he took off. So you can't pin the rap necessarily on Vanover.
Nope, not the base running blunder part of it.
Jamie Wright is now on in relief. Greinke's night is done, and the Mets with a 3-1 lead. And for the first time after 21 consecutive starts, Zach Greinke has given up more than 2 runs in a start. He leaves the game. He's on the losing side of the ledger.
How does that happen to a great pitcher like Zach Greinke? 2 of the runs are unearned.
Undone by the defense. Greinke goes 5 innings tonight. 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 101 pitches, 63 were for strikes. So here's Jamie Wright making his 22nd appearance. 24 2/3 innings, 16 strikeouts, but 13 walks. Again, walks have been the big issue out of the Dodger bullpen this year. Granderson has been struck out.
The walks out of the Dodgers bullpen has increased their own work, not only for them individually because they're out there in that inning when they're walking people and their pitch count is going up.
Granderson, who doesn't normally argue, said, hey, I foul tipped it. Why don't you ask the third base umpire, Angel Hernandez? Here comes Terry Collins trying to get Granderson out of there before he gets thrown out.
Adrian Johnson again keeping his cool. Let's see if he got the call right. Granderson says he fouls the ball off and then the ball hits the ground. It's not caught cleanly by A.J. Ellis. See if we can hear it. Wow, I heard 2 ticks. The only time you hear 2 ticks is foul ball and then off the catcher's glove, or catcher's interference and then foul ball or hit.
Larry Vanover now is in on the conference. Now they're going to take a look and see whether the ball has been scuffed.
Curtis Granderson is one of the most mild-mannered, nicest guys you'll ever meet in big leagues, and if he's convinced he ticked it, this is not gamesmanship. He really believes that he fouled it off.
In the 1969 World Series, J.C. Martin, who was a catcher for the Mets, claimed he was hit by a pitch and it scuffed his shoe. Gil Hodges, the manager, came out arguing with the umpires. Hey, take a look at the scuffed ball with the shoe polish. Well, Granderson and Collins lose the battle. Although it looked like they had a pretty good case. 1 out and nobody on. Campbell is sack fly. He's bounced to short and takes a ball inside. 1 ball and no strikes. Mets lead 3-1. Easy play for Figgins. 2 out. That is as vehement as I think I've ever seen Curtis Granderson.
Over the top with smiles and over the top with handshakes and welcomes. Not rarely over the top with disagreeing with an umpire.
Well, 2 out, and Lucas Duda coming up. Duda's walked and struck out and takes a ball low. 1 ball, no strikes. D-backs and Cardinals are tied at 2. Arizona visiting Tony La Russa's old stomping grounds. Strike on the inside corner, and it's 1-1. Giants and Rockies had 2 rain delays in. They suspended the game in the 6th inning. They'll pick up where they left off when the Giants next visit the Rockies in Denver in September. 2-2 in that one. One ball, 2 strikes. By the way, did you see, it looks like Prince Fielder may be done for the year.
Neck surgery?
Herniated disc.
A lot of people believe that that's why he's had such a power shortage over the last year and a half. He had been playing through that problem.
Up the first base line, and Gonzalez makes the play in a 1-2-3 inning. As we head to the 7th, it'll be Kemp, Van Slyke, and Justin Turner, with the Mets leading 3-1. Open their series against Andrew McCutchen and the Pittsburgh Pirates at 7:10. First 40,000 fans in attendance will take home a Dodger team themed T-shirt presented by Security Benefit. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So the Dodgers have 9 outs to figure out a way to come up with 2 or more runs, trailing 3-1 against Jonathan Neese. 86 pitches through 6 innings. The Dodgers had first and second and nobody out in the 6th inning. And a botched running play by Yasiel Puig on the infield fly rule. Dodgers have also made 2 statistical errors tonight, leading to 2 of the 3 runs for the Mets. And Kemp on the first pitch, foul ball. So it has been an inelegant game for the Dodgers tonight.
In some ways, went according to the statistics as far as the Dodgers' ineptness to hit a left-hander.
Dodgers coming into the game hitting .220 against lefties. And the 2 errors tonight give them 39. Only Washington has more errors than the Dodgers do. Here's the 0-1. Outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Greinke went 5 innings, 3 runs and 4 hits. 1 of the 3 earned. 101 pitches, 63 for strikes. And the first time all season he's given up more than 2 runs in a game. Kemp with a hard shot to short. Flores picks it up, throws low. Duda digs out.
Heading to Philadelphia after the game on the train. 3-3 on the road trip doesn't taste as good as 4-2
against an Arizona team with the worst home record in the National League, and a Mets team that's 9-14 at home. These are teams that the Dodgers simply should be fattening up on. The Phillies have a losing record, and after the Philadelphia series, the Dodgers fly home, play the Reds, who are 3 games under 500. After that, the Pirates, who are 7 games under 500, and the White Sox, who are 2 games under 500. So this is a period of time where the Dodgers won't play a team with a better than 500 record until the 6th of June. And so far, 3-2 on the trip and trailing the Mets. 3-0 to Van Slyke, who has struck out and flied to right.
The type of hitter that you'd give a 3-0 green light, but down by 2 and this big a ballpark. And that bat a pitch, take the walk.
Justin Turner coming up. 3rd walk given up by Nice. Turner's got 1 of them in his last at bat, and he'd be promptly erased on a 1-6-3 double play. Turner flied to right in his first at bat at 2:15.
Getting close to Jamie Wright's slot in the batting order, so we're going to get some action in the Dodger bullpen and probably some movement in the bench as far as pinch hitters.
Dodgers have plenty on the bench. Butera, of course, the backup catcher, as Chris Perez warned. Arborena has yet to have a major league at bat, and 3 lefties who sat it out tonight because Nice, the left-hander's on the hill. Into left field and well hit. It's on its way, and a tie score. Justin Turner, the former Met, with his first home run as a Dodger. It's a new game, 3-3.
We saw Drew Butera flex his muscles in Minnesota when he returned back to his old club. Justin Turner, following suit, picks on a high fastball and says, take a ride on that train. Tie game, Dodgers, Mets.
Taking the 7 train to Manhattan. A.J. Ellis with a fly ball to center field. Lagares is there for the second out. Carl Crawford coming up. That's Daisuke Matsuzaka. Justin Turner sitting dead red. So Carl Crawford is going to pinch hit. Zach Greinke is off the hook. We're tied at 3. 2 out and 2 in the 7th. And a little bloop to short. And that's it. A walk to Van Slyke. And Turner takes a walk on the wild side. A 2-run home run. 7th inning stretch. Dodgers and Mets are tied at 3. Basically let go by the Mets in the offseason. Dodgers would pick him up, and he just provided his biggest hit in his young Dodger career off Jonathan Neese.
They wanted to get younger, and they wanted to get a little cheaper in that position. There wasn't Justin Turner wasn't really let go because of ability, or they didn't like him. He had a lot of handshakes and hugs when he first got over here. It was just a decision on the roster, not ability.
So here's Chris Perez, his 21st appearance. Born in Long Beach, lives in Bellflower. Justin Turner, part of the Cal State Fullerton College World Series championship team in 2004. So he grew up a Dodger fan, played for the Mets, hits his first home run for the Dodgers at Citi Field. Talk about coming full circle. Wilmer Flores tonight, robbed by Yasiel Puig in the 2nd inning. And has he been robbed by Van Slyke? No, in and out of the glove. Flores a leadoff single off Perez here in the 7th inning.
Outstanding effort by Scott Van Slyke right there. He doesn't turn the glove under to try and catch it because that risks the extra base hit. So with no out, he goes with the glove down, hoping he can get it that way, but he knew that was the easier way to at least hold it to a single and still have a chance to catch the ball.
So now it's up to Perez and the Dodgers to hold serve after the Dodgers scored 2 in the top of the 7th off the Turner home run. Jamie Wright pitched a seamless 6, 10 pitches, 7 strikes and a strikeout. Recker has walked, doubled, and scored a run. 3 runs, 4 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Mets. And it gets past Ellis, and going to second base on the wild pitch is Flores.
The Dodgers were crashing with the defense, really going to get aggressive if the bunt gets laid down. Chris Perez just needs to throw a solid strike here. Everybody is on top of Recker. That ball is not even close. That's in the middle of the left-hand batter's box. AJL is not expecting there. He's actually kind of almost leaning forward to get ready for the bunt also, expecting a strike, expecting to pounce on the bunt.
Perez lost in space over the last half dozen games. Bobby Abreu in the on-deck circle to bat for Jonathan Neese. So the Dodgers tonight have made 2 errors, a botched running play, infield fly rule, and now a wild pitch. One ball and no strikes. 2 balls and no strikes to Anthony Recker.
These are the edges and the details that the Dodgers continually are trying to work out to get a long winning streak, to beat good teams, to win close games, and to really capitalize on a bad Met team that you could really get healthy against.
2-0 to Recker.
Recker trying to take a shot to the right side, move the runner up here with no outs, get a man to third with less than 2 outs. Perez just beat him to the spot there with that fastball away.
Jonathan Neese has served up the 2-run home run to Turner in the top of the 7th, hoping that Recker can give him and his Mets the lead back, and that would give Neese the chance to win the game. The 2-1, and now Perez steps off the rubber. The Dodger bullpen has continued to be an issue. Collective ERA of 4 1/4, ranking them 13th in the National League. They've given up 83 walks in 161 innings. They lead the National League in walks and innings pitched, the Dodger bullpen. Each night, it seems, a unique journey to the finish line. Recker bunts it in the air, and Turner can't get there. 2-2.
Well, now with 2 balls and 2 strikes, and if you're the Dodgers, you want a strikeout or a ground ball out to the left side. I wouldn't be surprised if A.J. Ellis is calling slider right here. Get the hitter out in front, so if he hits it, he pulls it and freezes the runner, or get him out front and strike him out.
2-2. Bingo. Well, there's one. You called it.
Well, he did a good job building the count with the fastball, and they decided not to put the bunt on until 1 strike. Then the foul bunt puts you in a count where you can really capitalize as a pitcher. They don't know what pitch is coming, and you've thrown fastballs that set up that breaking ball, and that's a poor piece of hitting and a very good pitch.
Here's Bobby Abreu. Pinch hitting for Jonathan Neese, who did his job tonight. 7 innings, 3 runs and 4 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. The 2-run home run to Turner, 97 pitches, 56 for strikes. 1 out in the 7th. Then Abreu fouls it off to the left, and it's 0-1.
Abreu's not going to bunt, and he's not real fast, even though he had an infield hit the other night that was hit shortstop to Hanley. The Dodger infield has to play deep here, and they have to knock the ball down.
Of the 3 outfielders, Kemp the most shallow of the 3, and he's shaded a bit toward left center. No balls and 2 strikes to Bobby Abreu.
We've seen that look from hitters back to Adrian Johnson, especially on the low pitches. Seen it from Matt Kemp. Seen it from some others, but he has been calling the bottom of that strike zone. And that one caught it.
Nothing Terry Collins can do about it either. Here's the 0-2. Fly ball right field. Puig heading back. He's got room. There's 2 out.
Very good throw by Yasiel Puig. With the winning run on second base and a routine fly ball like that, don't air it out and try and throw the runner out. Get the ball to the infield. That's some maturity and growth again right there. We've seen him launch this ball thinking it's important to throw this guy out. It is not. Do not take the risk of throwing that ball all the way in the air to third and allowing that runner to possibly score if it gets away. Just get it in the infield in the proper direction as soon as you can.
With Juan Lagares coming up, the meeting at the mound. Perez, Ellis, and Gonzalez. Dodgers looking into the dugout, seeking advice from there. Home plate umpire Adrian Johnson. And enough already. The inning began with a Flores base hit, went to second on a wild pitch. Brecker would strike out. Abreu would fly out. The lead run 90 feet away. Lagares 0 for 3 has bounced to third, bounced to short, and lined to center. And Perez delivers a strike, and it's 0-1.
Chris Perez has to contain himself and not over-try here. We've seen him really go after some pitches and over-try and throw some wild ones. The man on third, he's got to stay in his zone.
That's a good-looking pitch. 0-2.
2 good sliders, but right here, 0-2. You're like, if I bounce one, I'm out of this inning. You can't let your emotions get the best of you and just jerk this pitch. You got to stay within yourself and execute.
And if he bounces it badly, the Mets take the lead. Looped into right field for a base hit. Juan Lagares, a 2-out single to right, and the Mets take a 4-3 lead.
Didn't want to bounce it, and for 0-2, he left it up and gave him a chance. I think this ball is a ball off the plate, but it's still knee high. Take a look, and it probably would have been called a ball and been away. But for an 0-2 pitch with the winning run on third, Chris Perez will tell you that was not a good place.
2 errors and a wild pitch contribute to 3 of the 4 Met runs tonight. Now Daniel Murphy.
You get those runs and you come back and you got that adrenaline coming. Justin Turner comes back home and gets a home run for the Dodgers to tie it up. Nice loses his win, now gets it back. Chris Perez with the shutdown inning responsibility doesn't come through.
Murphy backhanded by Figgins. Do you have time to throw him out? Yes, he does. Terrific play by Sean Figgins. But the Flores single, a wild pitch, and a 2-out single for Lagares. Dodgers have 6 outs left, and they trail by 1. and go down to Philadelphia, about an hour and a half from here. And we will rejoin you tomorrow as you have a look at the Dodgers calendar presented by 76. 4 o'clock game time Saturday, noon Pacific, Sunday morning at 10:30, then homeward bound. A 3-game series beginning Memorial Day, 5 o'clock Los Angeles time at Dodger Stadium as the Reds come to town. Tuesday night and Wednesday night with Cincinnati. The Pirates come in for 4, then the White Sox. Well, here's Daisuke Matsuzaka. Of course, a much ballyhooed starter with Boston. And, lost his way and found a home in New York out of the bullpen. And Chris Perez bemoaning his work in the bottom of the 7th.
With Daisuke's command issues, the second half of his career over here stateside, and the command issues he even has right now, and the combination of Sean Figgins coming to the plate and his propensity to walk people, I'm sure Figgins is thinking free pass when he leaves the on-deck circle.
Figgins, who gave D. Gordon the night off tonight, has a hit, a run scored, and a walk in 3 plate appearances. He's also bounced to third. Gordon arrived at work today about 2 o'clock to see his name was not on the lineup card. And Don Mattingly said, look, we're going to give you the night off. You've been pressing a little bit. Just enjoy yourself. You've got a perfectly good seat. And in talking to D before the game, as Figgins takes high and away 1 ball and no strikes, he said, I feel actually pretty good that they're giving me a day off and I still have a job tomorrow. Wasn't always that way as a youngster.
Benefits of execution and production.
Here's the 1-0. Ball 1 strike to Figgins.
Figgy's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. I'm sure he's looking for a pitch still in the center of the plate. If it's near the corners, I don't think he'll be hitting.
Puig is on deck. Puig has had a tough night at the plate, but made a spectacular catch in the 2nd inning. One and 2 to Sean Figgins. Figgins has 6 hits on the year and 7 walks.
I think Figgy would have laid the bunt down right there if it wouldn't have been a breaking ball. I think he was looking fastball to get it down and saw a breaking ball and took it.
On 1 and 2. So Figgins, while hitting .273, has a .467 on base percentage. Leading off the 8th. Figgins has had enough. I'm going to sit it out for a second. Puig and Ramirez are next in the 8th inning. 4 runs, 6 hits for the Mets, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. And Figgins, did he go around? Yes, sir. One out in the 8th. In the 2nd inning, Puig robbing Wilmer Flores with a runner at first. Lucas Duda. Duda had already crossed second base when Puig made the magnificent catch and was nearly doubled up at first. So Puig 0 for 3 tonight. To center field. Well hit. And it is off the base of the wall. Puig with a double. For Yasiel Puig, his 11th two-base hit.
Everything he does is hard, fast, strong,
and exciting.
Yep, and this ball is crushed. I mean, it is on a line. This is hard enough to get out of here just on too low of a trajectory. He knows how crisply he hit it, and it's the patented bat flip, but haven't played that many games in Citi Field to find out that this park holds that one. Daisuke is not the best at holding runners on, and especially second base. Yasiel, with his speed and aggression, might take a shot at stealing third here.
What does Hanley Ramirez think about that?
Do it early in the count if you're going.
Murphy playing cat and mouse, trying to keep him close.
This would be the pitch right here. Take one look at his leg kick, at his look when he looks back at you and heads home. Try and get to third as quick as possible so Hanley can drive you in.
Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Ramirez is 1 for 3 tonight. Dodgers trail by a run.
He was thinking about it. Even with the base running blunder earlier on the botched infield fly rule, maybe that would have hurt his confidence a little bit. He is still in the game and trying to find a way to win.
Ramirez is 0 for 3 in his brief encounters with Daisuke. 1 ball and 1 strike. Figgins began the inning striking out. Puig with a double straightaway center field. Double barrel action in the Met bullpen. That's Juris Familia and Scott Rice. Puig the tying run at second. 1 out, top of the 8th. Into left field, and that is caught or not? Caught, and a double play. Eric Campbell with a spectacular catch. And the inning is over. Puig made a spectacular catch early in the game. Campbell with a great catch here in the 8th. As a result, Puig doubled up at second. 4-3 Mets. We go to the bottom of the 8th. On a spectacular catch made by Eric Campbell. Line drive off the bat of Hanley Ramirez. And instead of a tie game, the Dodgers still trail by 1 as we head to the bottom half of the 8th, and Chris Perez going to pitch a second inning. Perez gave up the lead run in the bottom of the 7th. A leadoff single to Flores, went to second base on a wild pitch, and a 2-out single for Juan Lagares, and that's the difference in the game. David Wright takes a strike, and it's 0-1. So Puig doubled up on the line drive. Great catch by Campbell. But it was one of those where he didn't have to go anywhere.
That was a great catch, but there's been a lot of assume in Yasiel's base running tonight, assuming the infield fly rule and assuming I was forced out when Hanley popped and he ran by second base. And then assuming that he needed to go on that line drive and not worry about whether it's caught or not when you are the tying run. And if it's not caught by an unbelievable effort, you're probably going to at least scamper to third, and it might get so far away that you get home. But if not, there's a man on first and third or second and third, depending on how the outcome goes, if you get a true read on the ball and it falls in. You love the aggression, you love the excitement and the potential, but this is the first time in about a month we've seen a little bit of hiccup in his thought process about what's going on in the game. But the rest of what he's doing, holy smokes, we love to watch it. He's one of the best in the game.
But a couple of base running blunders tonight. Granderson with a double and a run scored in 3 at-bats.
His base running blunders are part of a small pile of errors the Dodgers have made tonight to put them behind the Mets 4-3.
Kemp an error in the second inning. Turner an error in the 5th inning. Those are the statistical errors. A wild pitch by Perez in the bottom half of the 7th led to the lead run.
And even an 0-2 slider to Lagares that he got the hit on was not the best pitch for, as far as location, for an 0-2 pitch with the winning run on third base.
That's Paul Maholm assuming a new role now that Hyun-Jin Ryu is back in the rotation. Cardinals are hitting in the bottom of the 8th, leading the Diamondbacks 3-2. Tony La Russa leading his new team in against his old team.
It's quite a power shift in Arizona. Bring somebody in, name them head of baseball operations. That slides right in front of the general manager and the manager.
And right behind the president and the owner.
You can couch it any way you want when Tony goes to have all his meetings with every department. Everyone will assume that his voice is louder than Kevin Towers now.
All the King's horses and all the King's men. Granderson in a better mood in this at-bat than the last one. He struck out swinging and thought he foul-tipped it and had a lengthy, somewhat civil discussion with home plate umpire Adrian Johnson. Civil enough that he's still in the game. And a fly ball to right center. Long way back. And it is high off the wall. Here comes Wright. He's on his way home, and he will score, and Granderson is at third. Chris Perez's nightmare continues.
This ball's hit a long, long way. Matt Kemp, again, we saw this earlier tonight. There must be some wind out there that is really playing havoc with him on where to run and where the ball's going to end up. Because again, not Yasiel Puig, but Matt Kemp ends up in the wrong place, timing the jump correctly, but the route ends up about 6 feet off of where the ball lands.
reminiscent of the play in Sydney where Mark Trumbo up against the wall, made a leap and missed it by about 6 feet. It goes as a hit. The Dodgers have to bring the infield in. The Mets lead 5-2 or 5-3. And Ellis is going to go out and try to settle down Perez. So the bullpen continues to be an issue for the Dodgers.
Chris Perez right around 23 pitches right now, right around the edge of where you can bring him back tomorrow and he'll be fine. This is where you think about divvying up the work. Trying to get people out and trying to give yourself a chance in the ninth, but divvying up the pitch count in the bullpen so that you have all your pieces the next day.
Lucas Duda, left-handed hitter on deck. Mahalam is warming, and a ground ball, foul. 1-2. Eric Campbell, who made the spectacular catch, robbing Hanley Ramirez, is on deck, or is batting, and Duda's on deck. There's Puig, who will be doubled up. Campbell tonight, a sacrifice fly, is grounded out twice. Dodgers can ill afford to give up another run. Perez strikes him out, first out of the 8th. Now let's see if Mattingly goes to Mahalam. And here he comes. Going to bring on the lefty to face Duda. 5-3 New York. Paul Mahalam out of the rotation, now out of the bullpen. He'll be facing Duda when we come back.
.com at bat on your favorite mobile phone or tablet. Get live look-ins, instant replays, scores, stats, audio, free mobile.tv game of the day, and more. Download on the App Store or visit Dodgers.com today.
Paul Mahalam now on in relief, making his 11th appearance and his 4th out of the bullpen. And Chris Perez, a difficult night at the office. 2 runs and 4 hits in an inning and a third. And the runner at third base, Granderson, is his statistical responsibility.
Mahomes' fastball will play up a little bit more than when he was in the rotation. You get a little adrenaline rush as you warm up and the phone rings for you and you just jog into the mound and you know you are not responsible for throwing 100 pitches. You're responsible for just getting this hitter out.
Wilmer Flores is on deck. Dodgers maintain with the infield in. Tim Tuffle, third base coach, talking to Granderson. And Lucas Duda 0 for 2 and a walk. Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. Here's something you don't see often. Infield in with a shift on the right side. So there, you see how much space there is up the middle. So even if Duda just rolled it to shortstop.
It's a new definition of what the Dodgers think is a routine out and a routine ground ball from Duda.
Well, the shift is being used around Major League Baseball this year more than it ever has in history. We'll find out at year's end whether it's paid off or not.
There are some think that the shift will shift back as the players adjust, because Major League Baseball players can put steering wheels on their bats and they can get it to halves of the field. When you start giving them whole halves and do it often enough, the hitter will start adjusting. We'll just see if they do.
Let me ask you about that pitch. It was outside. He is pitching away from the shift.
It was my biggest gripe when our defense wanted to shift when I was pitching. I felt like it stole pitches away from my arsenal.
Here's a 2-2. 3-2.
Spray charts are developed by not by the pitch selection, but by where the ball was hit. Well, you don't know if it was hit on the 4th pitch and it was a breaking ball after 3 fastballs, or was it the 4th pitch after 4 fastballs? And was the batter late or was he early?
And against whom?
Exactly. What velocity? So
here's a 3-2. Well, here's going to be a play at the plate, and the shift pays off. Perfect. It turned out Hanley Ramirez was perfectly stationed.
In my day, that's a base hit, because we are separate and there's nobody up the middle. With the data they're using now, Don Mattingly and Tim Wallach and Rick Honeycutt, they got this one precisely right. Keep this game 5-3. Curtis Granderson going on contact. Hanley Ramirez making a nice clean catch and throw.
Wilmer Flores, big hit tonight in the 7th inning. One of the new rules, of course, a rule that is still a work in progress, the blocking of the plate. Let's see what A.J. Ellis did on the play at the plate on the throw from Hanley Ramirez. Is he blocking the plate?
He's allowed to once he receives the ball. He's not allowed to block it until he has the ball.
So that would qualify as a kick, save, and a beauty.
Yep, he did it right. I think that rule is going to be revisited in the offseason, if not sooner.
They're working on it now. They're still trying to get the wording correct. Meanwhile, looking ahead to the 9th with the Dodgers now trailing by 2, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Kemp, and Scott Van Slyke are due to hit. Five 5-3 Mets. There goes the runner. Here comes the throw, and safe. Duda's second stolen base of the year.
A.J. Ellis earlier in the game threw out David Wright. Hanley Ramirez made an outstanding tag. He made an outstanding throw. This throw just a little bit shorter than that one, and since the ball was skipping up, Sean Figgins couldn't get the tag down quick enough.
Henry Mejia is warming in the Met bullpen. We've got Gonzalez, Kemp, and Van Slyke to face in the ninth. Mejia brings it up in a hurry. So the Mets with a run in the seventh, a run in the eighth, both off Chris Perez. Lead it 5-3. The Dodgers tied it in the top of the seventh when Justin Turner hit a home run to left, his first against his old mates and his first of the year. But the Mets would burst his bubble with a run in the bottom of the seventh and one more here in the eighth, and the count is 2-2, and the inning is over. However, a Wright single, a Granderson triple, and the Mets have a 5-3 lead. Now, as we head to the ninth inning, it has picked up where it left off. The start of the game was somewhat in jeopardy. The rain stopped about a half hour before the pitch. It has been relatively dry throughout the game, and now the hale and hearty Met fans, those that are still here, are either breaking out the umbrellas or heading home early. But not that Dodger fan. Henry Mejia will pitch in the ninth inning for New York. And Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Kemp, and Scott Van Slyke will bat. Matsuzaka went one inning and gave up one hit, struck out a batter. Chris Perez, an inning and a third, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 2 strikeouts. Paul Maholm came in to clean up the mess. It's about an hour and 30-minute train ride from New York to Philadelphia.
Cheesecake Land. Cheesesteak. Did I say cheesecake? Oh, I'm thinking of tasty cakes also.
Yeah, that's exactly
all the
right.
good things wrapped up in one.
And a warm and fuzzy crowd always. Adrian Gonzalez takes outside, 1 ball, no strikes. 23,416. And a lot of them are leaving. There's a strike, 1-1. So the Dodgers trailing by 2. Dodgers have won 11 of 12 against the Mets since July of last year. But tonight the Mets with a run in the 7th, a run in the 8th, lead it 5-3. Mejia. That's drilled and deep, and Lagares tracks it down. One out. Now Matt Kemp, 0 for 3. He was 1 for 4 last night. 5 runs and 8 hits for the Mets. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, and a couple of costly errors. Van Slyke on deck. Giants and Rockies skated to a 2-2 tie in 6 innings in Colorado. They had 2 rain delays, each of them nearly an hour and a half. So they opted to shut her down in the 6th, and they'll continue play when the Giants next visit Colorado in September.
Well, now if you're Matt Kemp, you've got to get on the base. 2-0 down by 2 in the 9th.
Van Slyke on deck. Dodgers still have Ethier, Gordon, Butera, and Arozarena on the bench. Fly ball, right field, toward the corner. Granderson makes the catch. Dodgers down to their final out. Cardinals beat the Diamondbacks 4-2 in St. Louis. Now here's Van Slyke, 0 for 2, a walk and a run scored tonight. So the Dodgers are now away from losing the 3rd game and a chance to sweep the Mets. So on the first 6 games of this road trip, barring a 2-out rally here in the 9th, the Dodgers against Arizona and New York will have gone but 3-3.
A very disappointing 3-3.
One ball, one strike. And the Dodgers go to Philadelphia. They're under 500. The Reds come to LA Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, Monday, Memorial Day, 5 o'clock. Pittsburgh comes in for 4. The White Sox for 3. All under 500. 2-1 to Van Slyke. Justin Turner, who tied the game with a 2-run home run in the 7th inning off Jonathan Neese, is on deck, and he's hoping to get a chance to tie the game again. Dodgers are down to their final strike. Van Slyke tonight is struck out, flied out, walked and scored a run. 2-2. Kershaw tomorrow against Roberto Hernandez. Aaron on Saturday. Beckett on Sunday. Monday, the Dodgers return home. On 2-2. one more time.
As we take notice when Andre Ethier faces a left-hander, notice will start to be taken by scouts around the league as Scott Van Slyke faces right-handers, only hitting 190 against righties, but is seen around the league and by scouts as a possible everyday player for someone.
Again, the 2-2. 3-2. And as you mentioned with Ethier, in the on-deck circle, there is no lefty warming up for Terry Collins. Boy, he won't need one. Next stop, Philadelphia. Mets beat the Dodgers 5-3. 5 runs, 8 hits, 1 error for New York. 3 runs, 5 hits, 2 errors for the Dodgers. Nice wins it 3-3. Chris Perez loses it 0-2. Henry Mejia, his second save of the year. A game that took 2 hours and 59 minutes to play in front of 23,416. Now it's time for a look at the Lexus play of the game. It was a spectacular play by Yasiel Puig. Headlong dive, robbing Wilmer Flores in the second inning. But it wasn't enough as the Mets beat the Dodgers 5-3. So that's going to do it for all of us. Our Sportsnet LA team in New York, Earl Hershiser, Alana Rizzo, and the entire crew. Charlie Steiner saying good night and goodbye. We'll see you again tomorrow. Now we're going to send it back to Los Angeles for Access Sportsnet Dodgers, presented by Hyundai. See you tomorrow.